Amna Mawaz Khan, born and raised in Islamabad, Pakistan, she pursues dance and political activism as part of her life. Having trained since the age of 11 years under Indu Mitha in Bharatanatyam, she has also learnt and explored Kathak, Uday Shankar form of dance, and Pakistani folk dances. Amna is a part of the left-wing political party, Awami Workers' Party, and also Women's Democratic Front. She has been active in and organised movements for housing rights, the women's movement, as well as indigenous people's struggles, environmental issues, students, peasants, transgenders, and persecuted religious and ethnic groups. A strong believer in art being a powerful tool of social change, Amna is also a part of the progressive art collective Lal Hartal, and often works with the Pakistan National Council of the Arts, Kuch Khas, and Theatre Wale in their creative productions. She is currently mentoring with Bharatanatyam guru Subhashini Ganesan. In 2015, she was part of the only women-led electoral panel in Islamabad's first local government elections. So tell me, how are you in these times? How are you really?
So me and my partner, we moved up to a place in the hills. So it's fascinating also, and it's a privilege to be in so much space, but it's also daunting because it has its own sets of fears. I mean, nature is very overwhelming sometimes. And then of course I miss people a lot, so it's been interesting.
What is movement for you, and not just for you personally, but when we see humans feel this need to move all the time, whether it's with their body, whether it's from one place to another. For you, why is that? Why do you move?
Why do I move? Good point. I think it's the context also. I've never been like a naturally gifted dancer. I've always been kind of square with my movement. And I think that there's movement, like you say, in everything, in every being. Even animals, they're constantly dancing, the trees are dancing. And I think here in Pakistan, it's so hard to move as a woman in public. And I think that was the main thing that kind of made me think, okay, this is why I want to move, because movement is not only what it is shown by the fanatics or by the, just that it's been perceived that a woman herself is impure, and then when she moves, she's even more impure. So to change that narrative, but not only as a resistance, but also to show that there is imaginative, creative, ideas and intentions. Perhaps that's why I want to move.
That's amazing. How did this realization start for you? When did you realize that you wanted to move for this purpose? Because I think that's a huge thing that you do. I think it's you make a statement also through your movement, and it's a very powerful one, And when did you feel that you needed to do that?
In the beginning, when I was learning as a child, I was almost a little bit insecure that I'm learning a classical style and that part of a very privileged few number of girls in our class who were allowed to do this. But it was after, I think, let's say the lawyers' movement, when I got a bit politicized, and I got a lot of criticism from people in the left also saying that, oh, classical dance, that's very elitist. But then I thought, okay, let's break that down. The fact that a woman is dancing is in itself a bit, it's challenging to the whole idea of what a good woman is. So it was around like my late teens when I thought, hey, this could be a good way of doing politics. But it's vague, and it's always going to be vague, I think.
Yeah. But I think it's very interesting because I think the only other person I know in Pakistan was my teacher, Shima Ji, who sort of went in this way as well, doing theatres, street theatres, doing performances like that. How has that changed your perception of your body and your movement? dancing in front of all these people, or also teaching them, just being around them. How has that changed for you, for yourself?
It's limiting also, because one has to think, oh yeah, it might not be perceived in the right way. So even recently was the first time I danced in sleeveless, and I kept telling myself, it's okay, it's an all women's audience. But even that, the fact that the body is already, you're feeling 10 things before you have to perform, it's really limiting. So it's really paradoxical in a way, or let's say contradictory is a better word. Okay? It's like you want to show and you want to use your body to express, but then you have 10 things going on in your head. Is my stomach showing too much? If so, the body is so highly closed up and so policed here that it's hard.
Yeah, I was thinking about this too. I think you must feel limited in terms of your body, but also in terms of being, in terms of the concepts that you dance about, or in terms of the way you dance, and perhaps you often have to do things that you think will be good for the audience, right? Or are you able to experiment with the ideas that you have?
For a long time, especially with the street theater also, it was very limited. And I think last year I kind of just said, why not? Why am I taking the audience to be so, one-dimensional? I'm sure things hit them in certain ways. And I still haven't been able to perform as much as I would like to, or whatever, but even create those pieces. But I've been thinking of certain parts, like especially female sexuality. Now I'm getting into it more, and I'm getting less hindered. I'm less hindered about performing stuff like that. So now that I'm older, I'm kind of able to how's the word? Transverse through it better.
Yeah.
But yeah, slow process.
No, of course. And do you think that this has made a difference to the people that you've danced in front of? Has anyone ever come up to you, said something? I would love to know good things, bad things, and I'm talking about not social media people, but the people actually physically in front of you. What do they come and tell you? What are their ideas about this?
So
dancing in front of them.
The funniest one was in Hyderabad. Once I was performing, and it, again for an all-women's thing, and it was a small little thing, and the girl said, oh yeah, this is the first time I've seen dance to be used as a political tool, and I'd love to do it. Unfortunately, I'm not from the Kanjar class. So she was very earnestly saying that I wish I could, but I'm not low class. So I can't. And it was a bit like, what? But and the second woman, I've come across a few very interesting middle class older ladies who've never seen dance before, and they've been kept away from it, or they've never seen it because there's so less of it. And it's very interesting seeing how they see it, or when they come and say, this is the first time I've seen dance live. And just that kind of stuns me. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, how is it?
Yeah.
What kind of place do we live in?
Totally, yeah. It's like two different parts in Pakistan. One is okay, and that one that's a lot about arts and performing arts. It's also very limited. And very, if it's classical, it's very traditional. If it's something else, then it's Bollywood. The only modern dance people know in Pakistan is Bollywood, I think.
Bollywood, yeah. That must be hard for you, especially, it's...
Yeah, because especially when it's about going on to a music video shoot or something, people ask, this musician was so wo jo पता नहीं कौन सा शो आता था इंडियन टीवी पे, वो आप जो Bollywood ऐसे करते हैं, you know, they bring contemporary to Bollywood songs as well sometimes. And the thing is, the kind of contemporary that I do is not like the technical contemporary also. You know, what I do is really just the knowledge that I've learned, like the knowledge of the body that I have from here and there. And I try to put that together because I want to do what I connect with. But yeah, I mean, for people, it's really hard to understand. And I think us as Pakistani dancers have to be very patient sometimes. No.
Yeah. Especially when they think, they always call Bharatanatyam Kathak.
I know.
Someone has once said for some PTV recording, कि आप Muslim dress पहन के करें ना.
No, it's this is another thing I want to really. I've been thinking about this whole thing because even in Kathak, there is a Muslim group and then there's a Hindu group, you know, of people. You know, there is a Salami, जो Muslim Kathak dancers पेश करते हैं. India में I think it's a little more mixed, obviously, but then the Hindus will present that kind of namaskar to their gods and goddesses. So I think जब Kathak में ही, I think that's the only dance form जिसमें Mughals का इतना वो था, and that's why मुसलमानों का एक वो बन गया ना, sort of thing. But I feel like I don't know. I want to know more about this, but I think उस confusion की वजह से any other thing that happens in Pakistan, because it's a young country, well, it's not like we've always had what we've had. I mean, now we're starting to create what might be just Pakistani. I'm not saying in terms of dance only, but other things as well. But yeah, it's quite strange, that thing, no?
Yeah.
About this.
Exactly. And I think it's also adding to the young factor, the total erasure or just ignoring, being blind to the history that was here before.
Yeah.
And that could also be seen as Pakistani, but it's just a total rejection.
Yeah.
Total.
Yeah.
And that makes us even more confused as a nation. Okay, bhai?
Absolutely.
It's oldest civilizations are here, and there's a complete ignorance of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So sad.
In your real life, do you really feel that, you know, you're always so connected with your body and you're always feeling great about it and you feel okay about the way you are, or does the society affect you as well?
Definitely affects. And like my body is like a yo-yo also, so I'm never one kind of in one physique or anything, and I've had lots of consciousness, always conscious about my skin and acne and blah 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 and all of it. There's always been this huge thing about people. Even when I've come off stage, one auntie I remember said, "Hi, tum stage pe kitni pyari lag rahi thi." It's like, okay. But yeah, there's, you know, this whole thing on what beauty is and what the perfect dance physique is. I'm always being told I'm too short to be a dancer. Many ustads have also said this to me, you're too short. And then what was the point? Sorry, I forgot one point I had to say. After the baby, basically. After the baby, I knew that my body would just need time. I follow many dancers on Instagram, and I know that there's this desire to get back as soon as possible. And, you know, there's these whole challenges and all, but I just said, listen, while I'm feeding and while I'm hungry, I'm going to give myself some time. So I gave myself a very long time, a year. But then it slowly, I think the body has a thing of healing itself and knowing itself also. So that whole thing about body shame that is so on top of us, if we just kind of try and remember, okay, my body knows better than what people are saying. So I think then things feel better.
I'm so glad that you gave yourself time and didn't give in to the pressure of, because social media does come with a lot of pressure, like we were speaking about it the other day also.
this constant, like, everything is great, it's okay if you're
Yeah.
a dancer and you have a baby and you get back to it like this.
No.
Yeah.
It's hard, huh?
Yeah. And what is beauty to you? And also in your dance, what is aesthetic and beauty to you? Do you feel it's very important? Do you feel it's the only thing that's the first factor for people to feel attracted to art? And of course, especially our audience. What do you feel about beauty and aesthetic in real life and for yourself, in your work, in your dance?
Yeah. I think like here it's like beauty, a beautiful dancer, of course, is that aesthetic also of a good looking or finely made up and very heavily adorned, and then also very fast. And because I think there's a whole Kathak element of doing chakkars and showing that they high and showing all of that. So that element is really there. So when I started exploring Chandra Lekha's work, I saw that speed and that whole idea of what is the perfect dance or the perfect movement, it all changed in my mind. And also, I mean, I took a course in this place called Laban, and over there it's also very strict in its teaching about what the perfect line is, and everything is kind of rooted heavily in ballet and Western contemporary. So I came back feeling really confused about what is going on. And then, I mean, also seeing your work, I think your work I really like because it's beautiful for me because you do it in truth. So you're doing it with that intention. For me also, it's a similar thing that whether it's good or bad or whatever people think, as long as one is giving that intention of this is what it is, that's it. Like there's no higher, maybe sometimes there's a higher meaning to it or there is a story, but as long as the person is, even in acting, I think in street theater especially, it's like if you're doing it with that niyat, that's beautiful for me. And often it doesn't happen. Often there's just a split second, if there's like a live performance and something just distracts me, I lose it. And then I'll find it again within so I don't know, I mean, beauty, it has a lot to do with intention. So even if you're doing something ugly, like a pose that's kind of deformed, if it's done with that intention, it's beautiful.
So you kind of connect life and politics with each other. When I felt that pressure of and I think I've always been a little away from politics, and it's only now that I start to bring myself to it, because I think I stayed with that all my life through Shimaji, through my parents, and for me it was like, okay, give me a break. I don't want to like always think about that, and I want to go with another intention. But recently, and now I've been thinking about that, and recently I watched one of your live things on Facebook where you said it was you can't separate these things, and I thought, yeah, she's right, you can't separate it. It is that, because it is who we are also at the end of the day, no?
Yeah, definitely. I think that also the politics in itself, it speaks in different ways to different people. And especially, I mean, I come from a very strangely apolitical family, and I think it was in those years of rebelling, it also came out as bad maybe, and then it's constantly coming in new forms, the how to do politics, how to see politically or organize politically. So I think when one has those figures, no matter how amazing they are, there is an aversion that, bhai, I want my own way of understanding it. Like my sisters, they all went to art school and I refused, even though I liked visual art. Now I'm learning how to paint and all, but I kept it away from me because I said, this is not me. But then it's interesting how now we see things differently with time and experience.
Yeah. So what do you want to explore more with your body and with your art? What are you really interested in? And if you would do it, would you do it 100% being where you are, or would you let the limitations come into it?
Yeah, I've been going through a lot of these questions, and I think I'm at that crossroads right now where I'm thinking, there's a limit to how much one can do here, of course, and also what one can do here politically and artistically, and one can do anywhere. But I'm just thinking I would like in terms of dance to explore more through, I don't know why, but more through videography. But with that, I would like to do stuff like filmmaking and movement. I don't know how to do it, so I'm thinking about it in different ways. And I would like to produce more of that stuff that would kind of have a larger impact. And then I would also, where I'm staying right now, there's lots of little children, but they come from very conservative families, and none of them know that I dance. I told one person that I dance, and after that person never met me. So it's a very highly conservative space here. So I would like to teach here, and not only teach, but also just let children dance and enjoy themselves, because they do, even if they come from very strict families, they will be moving if they like something, like babies start dancing. So I don't know, I mean, I've started a kind of informal setup here where they come and they read and they play, but now I want to, after getting their confidence, I want to start teaching or start dancing with them, just putting some local music on and just playing around. And maybe, I don't know, it depends how much I can stay here, because I do think that, and many people tell me, if you do want to pursue dance for the rest of your life, you should kind of try and be in a place where the level is higher, where like just say you, right? Like you're able to challenge yourself. You're able to get that environment where you're learning dance as a science almost, which it is. So I'm really confused, basically.
But no, it's true. I think for me, one of the biggest things was also that I couldn't challenge myself, and I needed more challenge, because I mean, people will tell us in Pakistan, "Oh, you're amazing, you're a brilliant dancer," but we know that we need to grow more and more. I mean, the moment you are at one level and you stay with that for a year or two, then there's something more to that.
Unfortunately, I feel people just stay in those molds. But it's like a quick mix then. Okay, this dance worked well. Let me just add a little bit more and I make a new dance. Like there's the exploration and the breaking down is not here. The standard is not here. It's just, I want to get lots of talis. I want to be very fast. I want the most fabulous outfit. I'm not trying to kind of put anyone down, but that is the culture here.
That is, But I really liked what you said earlier. You said that you thought that maybe you should sometimes give that different exposure to your audience too sometimes. And I think this is another thing, Amna, that Pakistani dancers, musicians don't do. They don't want to experiment. And I'm so glad that you do that, because we always think, oh, they wouldn't understand that. So why, give them something different? But if we don't give them that exposure, how will they ever understand? I mean, it's kind of depending, that responsibility lies with us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The
worst one can get is bad press also. And then, of course, people saying, oh, ye fahash hai, which is often what one gets as a dancer. I remember ek dafa there was this Urdu newspaper with like a foot, and I wasn't naked, obviously. I was in clothes, and I was in a shalwar kameez, and it said "Bada bada jismon ki khulli numaish." So really insane, and and that's, I think some people get scared of that also. But also I feel there's such a vague understanding of art as being against religion or for religion, and there's such a heavy of this whole kufr thing. I've had friends who are musicians asking me, "Oh, Amna, do you still want to do this piece? It's Ramzan." And the piece is totally fine. And I'm like, it's totally fine. I'm just going to, like, we're just performing it. And it's not like we're doing something that's so-called vulgar even. It's just, it was a random. Though even people who are in the arts often confuse their values. It's strange. And it's sad because here everything is so mixed up.
You know, I don't know, I might be wrong, but recently I started reading up on this, and I read that in the Mughal time, because usse pehle the kind of dance that was happening was to please gods and goddesses in what was India. And after that, when the Mughals came, the Muslims were known to have it for their entertainment. Okay? So for them, it was like, you dance for us, to entertain us, for the men. And that's why for some people it became fahash. It became this thing of, why would you do that? And dance is all about sexuality and all of that. And I'm thinking now that maybe it's really coming from there. Our idea of entertainment is also this at the end of the day. Maybe not ours personally, but as a Pakistani nation, we think either there should be none of that because you're trying to seduce someone, or if there is, we must have fun. Just shut up and dance. Don't. Activism chhado apna ye. All of those things. Don't you think that, like, the way we look at entertainment is that too?
Yeah, I think we're a highly frustrated country in terms of any kind of production, whether it's artistic or knowledge production. If you hear these sermons by some clerics, they're so obsessed. They're obsessed with women. They're obsessed with how dirty women are. They literally say "Meli kucheli aurtein." And it's so confusing because it's definitely not religious. It's definitely the opposite of what Islam actually says about women and what it says about the status of women. And so there's this weird mutated idea, and it's so deeply rooted in the patriarchy and it's unfortunately replicated by and strengthened by women themselves. So often, I mean, even the dancers are seen as, it's so interesting that, I don't know, the women who I have been in touch with who are not from privileged background, they love dance, they love to sing, but there's always a guilt with it, because just as a woman as a being is so filled and so loaded with shame that just dancing, like you say, and it's historically and now just become this thing of entertainment, whereas it used to be devotion. And the question is, can it be in between those two things? Super loaded place.
No, I'm thinking about the shame and the guilt, and I think women definitely carry it a lot, and I see that men who want to dance also come with a lot of shame and guilt, no?
Exactly.
What's your experience with such
they
men?
Also are affected by this. Yeah, a lot of men, I mean, when I worked in PNCA, a lot of them come from backgrounds where they can't say even that they're dancers. So they write on their organization card that they're puppeteers or they're visual artists. They won't say they're dancers. And often, of course, there's men, like a very good dancer, you might know him, but I won't name him in case it's family or whatever. But he could never tell his family that he's a dancer. And, he was also not straight. And he, this whole idea of being na-mard and then linking that to being a dancer. And I've often heard some Pakistani male dancers who are the top dancers saying, यार कथक तो कोई यहाँ पे कोई मर्दों की तरह करता ही नहीं है. And you hear this from a lot of ustads who are just so messed up in their idea of gender. Okay, this is male, this is female, and then often kind of justifying also Kathak as a dance, including some female ustads saying Kathak is a warrior's dance. Look at the pose, you know. So, matlab, why do you need to add so much of that into it? There's such a hyper gendering within the dancer community itself. She moves like a man, or he moves like a woman, and it's like that's what dance is doing. It's beyond that. It's trying to break all those things. But
and there is no gender with that. That's what we're doing with our bodies. That's what we're trying to do, to explore other, ways of being, not just as human beings, but even like finding the creature within us, finding I don't know, it's a body which can do so much. Our bodies can do so much, and it's true that when people like our big ustads say that, we feel, we feel like we're not good enough, and then that whole cycle starts again. So हमारा डांस की दुनिया में आने का फिर कोई फायदा उस तरह से होता ही नहीं है. Except that, okay, you become a little fit, but that's not what you're looking for. You could become
or you
fit
become a little star or something, it just becomes that.
Exactly.
कि मुझे आगे होना है, मुझे बीच में आना है, अगर group dance है, मैं and it's come on.
And this constant
it's just replicating this whole
Yes. And this constant competition of, like people comparing the two of us all the time. The only two Bharatanatyam young dancers in Pakistan. And who's prettier and who's a better dancer and it's very hurtful.
Really
you and I didn't even know each other properly before that. But I'm so glad we could just not think about
and I'm so glad, because so many people get stuck in that. I think that the people above and like the earlier generation, they all have issues with each other. All of them have issues. Just the fact that you and I can talk with each other and be friendly and want to do things together, that's something that people don't want.
No.
It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, because the whole purpose of being able to involve yourself physically, emotionally in something is to do something more meaningful or just go deeper into something, right? And not be in this thing of,
And often I get criticized by my ustad कि तुम इतना collaboration क्यों करती हो, especially with non-artists. And for me, it's like, that's the point. But then she's right also. She says, your practice in itself gets a bit, you're losing your own time and you're not developing your own. So it's always a give and take. But it's also your priority. I think it's like the reason why there is art is to connect. It's not for, look how great my Aramandi is. Like that's but to be able to balance it, that would be great.
I think the fear is of making mistakes. And I think we should not be afraid of making mistakes, even as performing artists or as dancers who are like, for some people we're like sacred beings and we're these people that, they're perfect. But one has to allow themselves to make mistakes. Even if you collaborate, you are exploring what is your way of expression, right? You are. Bharatanatyam is a language that we know. It's a language. We have the vocabulary. We want to go further into it, we go further into it. But then I think we choose what other languages we want to speak as we. I don't know. I started to look at it in this way. What do you feel about that?
I till last week actually, I was very in this way thinking कि भाई, how can I go further? Like I did start learning with Indu Mitha when she had just turned, let's say, 70, and she's amazing. But of course, like when she herself says that, there are many things that I have not been able to do with you because of time, because of, including my own problem of, being a teenager and sometimes just saying, "Main skip kar rahi hu." So I didn't give it that kind of time. And just last week, I've started online yahi kisam ka. That's the good thing about Corona, is it's had people to reach out to each other.
Yeah.
But there's this really interesting dancer, Subhashini, and she's based in America, and she wants to kind of re-explore or disentangle the whole mythological, and there's such a big cloud of Kalakshetra within Bharatanatyam that,
Yes.
Even the very expressions are kind of taught like photocopies. This is how your rasa should look like. So she's very interesting, and I'm kind of trying to unlearn certain things with her also. And she's very inspiring in that way, that she, like you're saying, this is a language that can be explored in whatever way.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, we've always been taught it's like mathematics. You have to be a certain way, like you can't question what's beyond that. And I think we should be allowed to go beyond that and see what it is, But I know that can offend some people too. But I think it's time for what Subhashi is doing, for example, or what you're thinking.
Yeah, what you're doing.
Huh? What I'm doing also. Yeah.
I said, and what you're doing.
Yeah, in some way, yes. So, my last question for you is, what have you managed to discover yourself through all these years of your movement practice and all the things that you've done within your movement practice, the collaborations of, either doing it through politics or through working with non-artists, and anything that you've discovered about yourself as a person?
I think just one thing that stood out to me is that every single person has this ability of creativity, and it's so powerful. And I don't think that I'm brilliant in terms of what I can do, but I think that I can, at least with my art, try and bridge people in a way that makes them feel that they can also create, and create not only just anything, but create something that is part of an imagination of what the world could be and can be. It's hard and it's really vague, but it's a lifetime thing. I think that when one knows that, okay, I'm not perfect, nobody is, and with a certain language or with a certain kind of set of principles, you can keep re-innovating, you can keep breaking yourself and creating. And I think that's the beauty of being a human being and not a rock.
I completely agree. Thank you so much, Amna, for sharing everything that you did.
Thank you. I had a great time.
Yeah, same here.
And I hope to collaborate soon with you.
Yeah, we're working
whenever
on that.
the time is right. We are working on it.